Hey, it's December 13th, bringing you your weekly Lake of the Ozarks fishing report. As you probably know, we took a couple weeks off here, did some other things, spent some time with family this time of year. We actually went to Silver Dollar City, spent a couple days down there, went to Bass Pro, the Worlds of Wildlife down there, went through that museum. It's quite the place. It's a good place to go with your family, kids, whatever, and it's something to see. I'll say that. But like I said, we just took a couple weeks off, did some other things, got some things organized, messing with the boats, this, that, and how things are. But as far as fishing goes, fishing's getting there. We're kind of stalled in between a what I would say late fall, early winter. So basically, what that means is you've got a few different things that are still working. The water temperature is still that temperature that you've got some active fish, that are still roaming. They haven't really bunched up for their winter schools, I guess I'd say. The lake level is 659.3, so it's only a foot below summer pool, which this time of year normally we're probably 2.5 to 3 foot down from summer pool. So we're running a little bit higher than normal for the lake level. The water temperature is also running higher than it is normally. I was looking at a log. I guess it was yesterday. One of my past logs of past years. And by now we're usually down in the low 40s to mid 40s. And this week I spent one day down the lake. Me and my brother went out and fished, and we were in the low 50s still. We were 52 degrees on Wednesday, 53. So, that's well above where we normally are. Mid to upper lake, you're in the upper 40s, which, normally by now we're down to lower 40s. So we're about 5 to 6 degrees warmer than we normally are, and as far as what I can tell, it's kind of got the fish kind of still scattered out. They haven't totally bunched up for the winter patterns. I'm fishing winter patterns already. I'm waiting on them fish to come, because when they get there to where I like them to be, I'm gonna be there and I'm gonna be ready for them. They're just not quite there yet. We're catching a lot of fish, but a lot of 14 inches, a lot of smaller fish, some smaller keepers. Now, like I said earlier this week, we went down lake and we caught, between the two of us, we fished all day. I don't know how many shorts we caught. We caught a ton of shorts, and just between the two of us, I think we had 5 keepers. Not a lot of weight, probably 12 pounds. But here lately, 12 pounds has been, about where it's at. You'll get some guys that will figure them out, or stumble across a bank that has some that have already bunched up and grouped up, and they'll catch some bigger fish. Mainly the baits. The choices are gonna slim down here as the water gets cooler and we get into winter patterns. Fishing becomes a lot easier. Mainly your finesse jigs. This is just a 3/8 ounce zapper, Ozark crawl color, with a green pumpkin red flake ring crawl. It's probably one of my favorite winter baits. I do take and I spider that jig up. I cut off a lot of the strands. I cut it up even with the hook, and I'll trim that ring crawl up a little bit, just so it's a small profile, little jig, little finesse jig. As we get into winter, bass will tend to feed on these smaller baits, smaller profile jigs a lot more than they may on a big bait. The setup is just a finesse jig rod, spooled up with 12 or 15 pound fluorocarbon, Lew's Hypermag reel. Probably it's the best setup I've found for it. This is a 7-foot rod, 7-foot Falcon Cara rod. Like I said, with that Hypermag 12 or 15 pound test with a little finesse jig. You can throw this all year. From now through April, you can throw that little bait and catch some fish. You know, the other bait I really like this time of year is a swamp bug. You hear me talk about it a lot. This is probably my favorite bait this time of year. This is just a little moss candy swamp bug. I rig it on a little 1/4 ounce shaky football head that Crocketer makes. Got a little wire hook. A lot of the fish will just pick that bait up right now and just swim with it a little bit. And all you got to do is give a little snap or a little good pull, and you can hook up with that wire hook. You know, I really like the wire hook for my hookups this time of year. The setup, it's the same. It's finesse jig rod, hypermag reel with a 12-pound, 10 or 12-pound fluorocarbon for that swamp bug. I really like the light line this time of year. It doesn't displace so much in the water. It's more direct line. It's a lot more sensitive to me, and I can just feel what my bait's doing a lot more in the winter. So if you're having trouble feeling a finesse jig or say swamp bug, maybe downsize your line and see if that doesn't help. It really helps me. So you want to downsize your line. Other baits that are coming into play are stick baits. You know, we actually fished a Bass World Sports today, and the winner actually caught his fish on a stick bait. I don't know what color he was throwing, but Andy Newcomb and his partner caught 1680, I think it was, and they won it. I think it was right at 40 boats, so it was a pretty good bag, you know. And I basically asked Andy, you know, what was you throwing? He said stick baits. So I actually seen Andy today while we were fishing. I just went down the bank with a jig, caught a couple shorts. He said he actually went down with a stick bait and caught one of his waders. So it shows you, the stick bait jig banks are pretty much the same banks. You know, they're little channel banks or little channel swings, little steeper banks, usually in creeks, bigger creeks. You know, but it's basically the same banks. So it's a good idea to go down a bank with a jig, and then maybe come back with a stick bait, or vice versa. You know, if it's windy, probably stick with the stick bait. If it's calm, you know, you might just switch it up, go down, back and forth until you see what these fish are wanting, maybe what depth, or how they're feeding. They might be feeding up, or they might be feeding on the bottom. So, but it's going to be the same banks is what I'm getting at. So, you know, this time of year, you're going to want to start concentrating on channel swing banks, whether it be main lake channel points, or you get into some of your bigger creeks and start looking at your channel swings, where the old creek channel goes through that cove or the creek. And it could be just inside main lake, could be halfway back, it could be 3/4 way back. You just kind of got experiments to see where these fish are at, where they've congregated, where they've schooled up this time of year. You know, you can fish 2-3 hours without a bite, but then when you find the fish in the winter, you can sit on one bank for 3-4 hours and catch them. You know, a lot of it is shad oriented. If you see good presence of shad, most likely your fish are going to be there. You know, but really this time of year, you're really going to want to concentrate on channel banks. You know, rather, and I say channel bank, it could be where the old creek channel runs along the bank, which is going to be preferred, but it could also just be a steep, ledgy rock, bigger rocks, ledge, maybe a little brush scattered out, you know, and different along that creek channel. A lot of times will help. You know, any of them caught them on stick bait today. They had 16, heavy 16. Second place was John Sapper and Ronnie James, and he was actually throwing a Crocketer brown purple scale Zapper HD. That's the one with the bigger hook. John likes that. He was throwing a little ring crawl on the back of it, a little black and blue, or actually a June bug John was throwing. And John was actually told me he was catching them deep, like 20 foot. I never fished anything 20 foot today. But John said they only had 5 keeper bites, but they were the right ones, you know, and they got second place. So you had 2 different baits, both good bags. One was a stick bait, one was a jig. So it just kind of shows you, you know, if you find the right fish, and you want to throw stick baits, you can catch them. You want to throw jig, you can catch them. You know, As far as area of the lake, right now, you know, the lower end is a little warmer still. So those fish are going to be a little more spread out, I think, as you get higher up in the arms, whether it be the gravois, the Niagara, the glaze, the Osage. That's going to be cooling down quicker. So that water right now is in the upper 40s still, but as it gets down to mid 40s, low 40s, your fish are really going to congregate on these channel banks. You know, and they're going to school up a lot more. They're not going to be so spread out. You probably won't catch as many short fish. The fish you catch will probably be better fish. You know, like I said, I'm waiting on those fish to come to me. I've kind of gotten off the fall stuff, and I'm waiting on these winter fish to show up for me. When they get there, I'm gonna be ready, because that's my favorite time to fish. You know, I just like a finesse jig, the swamp bug, just slow fishing, get on a bank. If you catch a couple good fish, you can pretty much slow down and stay right in that area and expect to catch more. You know, the bass, you know, like I said, the fall we did catch a couple on wiggle worm this year, or not this wiggle worm, the rock crawler this week, and either in this red color or this natural green was working too. That bait's kind of slowing down a little bit, but you can catch them on a wiggle worm or rock crawler down into the low 40s. You just got to work it a little slower, just kind of creep it along, reeling it, or just kind of pull it and then catch back up to it and pull it, almost like a Carolina rig action with the thing. But you know, that's going to go away a little bit, and then you're going to end up with your stick baits, your finesse jigs, your swamp bugs, and then of course in the wintertime, the bait that's really shines is the Alabama rig. If you notice in some tournaments here in the last couple of weeks, if the Alabama rig is allowed, I would say the weights are 5 to 6 pounds more for a total weight. You know, last week I think it took 23 pounds to win a tournament, where today it took 16. No A rigs in it. So not that they're all catching them on A rigs, but a lot of guys will tell you, yeah, we're catching them on A rigs. Some of these fish are deep, say 20 foot, and the only way you can get down to those fish accurately and work them, you know, efficient is with the A rig. So that's why that shines so much this time of year. You know, the A rig, you're going to throw it on a big stout rod with probably 50-pound braid. You know, you've got the swim baits you put on the back. There's several good ones out there. This Strike King Raid Swimmer is good. The Exo Swim is really good. This Big Bite Little Minnow is good. Reaction Innovation makes a really good one. You know, there's several good ones out there. Just pick one in a shad color. Set them up on your A rig. You know, here we can only have 3 hooks. You got 2 dummies on top. You got your 3 hooks, and then your center one is usually an odd color, or maybe put a little chartreuse on it. Make it something a little different, where when those fish do decide to come after this A rig, that they focus in on that one bait. Obviously, it's sticking out a little further. It's got the hook on it, and you don't want them hitting your dummies. So something you might want to consider when you're throwing the A rig is switching that center one up to a different color, different size, different, you know, even different shape, whatever. Just something so they come after one with the hook. We're talking about hooks, or actually the A rigs. You know, there's several brands out there. I found this Flash Mob Junior is a good one. The Cellular makes it a really good one. Both of these are real similar baits, really good baits. And the heads to throw on these are the Crappie Gator swim bait jig heads. We've got 2 different styles. They're made just for the Alabama rig. That's all we made these for. We've got one with a real stout, heavy hook. If you're just fishing open water, no brush, no cables, you know, that's going to work great. If you are fishing brush piles, over brush piles, around cables, those big cables, and you're liable to get hung up on it, we make one with a wire hook. And what that wire hook is, it's a strong wire hook. It's going to hold any fish you hook up with. But if you do get hung up in brush or hung up on a cable, you can just put that rod tip straight at it and just pull, just straight, and it's going to open that hook up on that wire hook and get that whole rig back. You can bring your whole rig back with one hook straightened out. You can fix that hook instead of losing your $25 A-rig setup. You know, you're going to straighten out one little wire hook. So, you know, if you're fishing over brush or you're getting hung up, look into the wire hook. That's going to save you a lot of money and a lot of aggravation. You know, when you're A-rig fishing, one thing I'll do is I'll take 2 or 3 of them. I'll totally set them up with all the hooks, the swim baits, everything on them. I'll put them in a sandwich bag and I'll put them in there. So if I do break one off, all I got to do is tie it on. I don't have to go through setting everything up out there in the boat in the winter when your fingers are cold. You know, talking about that, I do the same thing with jigs. It's something I've been doing for a while. I put them in a sandwich bag. Like these are full of swamp bugs. I've got 2 or 3 of them already set up on the head with the bait. You know, like today it was 30 degrees. My fingers were cold when I'm out there fishing, and it's hard to maneuver, put stuff, rig it on there. So if you make this stuff up beforehand and have it ready, when you break off, all you got to do is retie. You're ready to go. It'll save you time, some aggravation. Same things with jigs. Make you up a couple jigs, you know, with the trailers on them, ready to go. All you have to do is retie the jig. It's already got your trailer on it. Like I said, it's going to save you time and aggravation while you're out there in the cold. You know, while we're talking about the cold, yesterday, me and a couple friends, Justin and Landon, we went out crappie fishing. It was misty, it was cold, it was windy, and we were wearing these AFCO Reapers. I can't say enough about these. I really, you know, they've got the built-in face shield. It's got a great hood. It's got great drawstrings, good quality stuff. I put this on, and then I've got this down jacket that they also make. It's a nice down. It's full 100% down. It's a slick jacket, so you can put this on over, like say the Reaper, and then put your winter coat over top of it. It slides in there real good. It slides, and you don't feel, you know, restricted inside your winter gear. A lot of times I can get away with just wearing this and that Reaper without the big bulky, you know, top jacket in the winter gear. But you know, we were out there all day, never got cold. Today it was cold, never got cold one bit. So, you know, if you're coming down to fish in the winter, it can be some of the best fishing if you're prepared and you're dressed properly. If you're not going to have any fun. Once you get cold, you're cold in the winter. So start out with the right gear, get it put on, and come down and enjoy yourself. Because you're not going to be cold. They make this stuff for winter fishing or winter time, no matter where you're at. Another deal, I'll say, these gloves by AFCO, new pair of gloves. They're windproof, they're waterproof, and they're insulated. These are my running gloves. You know, I've got a set that I run down the lake. You know, when you're running 70 down the lake, you better have a good pair of gloves on. Your fingers are going to get cold. It's the same thing. If your fingers get cold, it takes forever to get them warmed up. These gloves here, man, they're made for fishing. They've got the touch option on the tip of your finger. So like my Garmin's are all touch screen. I don't have to take my gloves off. I can touch my screen and work all the mechanics on it with my gloves on. It also has this thing on here, looks like a little windshield wiper. When it's raining or foggy or, you know, damp on your shield, on your graphs, instead of wiping them and smearing, this is like a windshield wiper. You just reach up and slide it down it. It cleans it off like it does a windshield. Great idea. I use it a lot when it's wet. So, you know, like these gloves, along with this other stuff, you know, I'm gonna spend whatever it takes to get the right gear because I'm not gonna be cold. If I'm cold, I'm not gonna be out there. And I think everyone else is the same way. So, you know, if you're in the market for stuff, look up AFCO. They've got something for everything, and it's all good quality stuff. I promise you that. You know, these I got some fishing gloves. I call them. They're just lightweight. I don't know what brand these are. I go through so many different gloves, but these are just real lightweight gloves that once I'm there to where I'm going to fish, I take these out of my little pouch inside that AFCO. They're warm. I put them on and I fish. When I'm ready to move, I put them back in there. I put my running gloves back on. I run down the lake, I've always got a warm pair of gloves to put on. So just a little tip I use, to keep myself warm, in the winter. Man, that's the only other thing that I didn't talk about was crappie. We crappie fished yesterday, the three of us. We had a lot of fun. This is a great time for just to come down and have fun. Some friends, family, whatever. Come down, go out, crappie fish. You're gonna catch crappie. The crappie they're already schooled up like winter schools. I mean, a couple of us were talking today, and I'm not kidding. It is not odd to look underneath the dock with the live scope and see 2, 3, maybe 400 crappie under one dock. They're that schooled up, that many of them. A lot of small ones, but like yesterday we were catching a lot of small ones. We figured out if we could cast or shoot past them, let the bait fall past the school, and then bring it down slow underneath the biggest school. That's where the big ones were. If we were below the larger school or portion of them where the smaller ones were, the bigger ones down below. We were catching a lot of big ones. I think we had 2 limits between the three of us of those 11 to 12 and a half inch crappie. Great big crappie. Landon went home with a big bag of fillets. So man, we had a blast out there. We're just shooting. We're mainly shooting docks. Was the best way of catching them. We're just shooting a little Bobby Garland. I think this one's called Bluegrass. It's blue with a little chartreuse, a little 16th ounce head, 6-pound test on a sharpshooter rod. That's pretty important to have the right rod when you're trying to shoot. You got to have something with some backbone, so when you bend it back, that it really shoots it. If you have a long, flimsy one, it's just not going to work for you. So, maybe go to Fitz's or Bryant's or Osage's bait and tackle, and talk to someone in there about crappie rod and tell them what you're wanting to do. Shooting, you want to shoot docks, and they're going to set you up. It'll save you a lot of trouble, of finding the right rod. Go in and tell them guys what you want to do. That's why it's important to go to say not these big box stores, but your hometown, your smaller tackle stores. These tackle stores are run by they're owned and run by people who fish. Okay, so you go in there and tell them you want a finesse jig rod, you want a stick bait rod, you want a crappie rod to shooting. These guys have the knowledge, they have the experience. They're going to set you up with the right equipment the first time. So I can't stress that enough. Visit your these stores, and they're going to set you up with the right stuff. On shooting docks, that's what we were shooting at. That Bluegrass, we were also shooting just the same old blue ice color was working real well. I really don't think it mattered. If you got in there to them, you were catching them. We were looking at them on a Garmin Live Scope, and we were I'd say every third dock would have a wad of crappie under it. Some of them were way underneath there, 40 foot. We couldn't get to them. We just passed them up until we got to some that were maybe 15 foot in, and we could shoot in there and catch them. So that's where the live scope is so important. You can pick out the school that's in an area under that dock that you're going to be able to get to. Open water fishing. We were fishing. We caught some doing that too. And the best thing I found for that is just this little 3-inch swimmer that Kitech makes. Talk about that a lot. Just on a little 16th ounce head, 6-pound test still. And that little thing, man, that catches some fish. For open water fishing, I don't think there's a better bait for crappie. Whether it be brush piles, a piece of structure, where we got boat lifts that are sunk, we've got catwalks, we've got brush pile, everything. If you see that on your graph, especially live scope, you can just back off, say 20 foot off of that, cast your bait out there 30 foot, let it sink down, you watch your bait go down, you see the right depth, and you just swim it right past that brush, and then fish will come out and grab it. And you can watch every single one of them grab it. It's a lot of fun. It's extremely productive, and it's easy. Anybody can do it. You throw it out, let it sink down, and just reel it slow. That little swim bait, you catch bass on it, you catch walleye, you catch crappie, you'll catch drum, you'll catch everything on that little swim bait, and a bunch of them. It's a good bait for the winter to bass fish too. So those were the baits for crappie. The crappie are mainly Main Lake or just inside Main Lake. Just find you a big dock with a big swim platform, maybe some the boat lifts that are like the big square boat lifts. Usually pontoons are on them or big boats are sitting on them. A lot of those, the crappie will get underneath those and you can shoot alongside of it or just in front of it and catch a lot of crappie. As far as location on the lake, we was down lake earlier in the week, caught a lot of crappie. We put in a hurricane deck the other day. We didn't go very far and we caught, like I said, I don't know how many crappie we caught. We ended up with 2 good limits and I know we caught hundreds of smaller ones too. A lot of crappie. So basically, I don't think it matters where you go for the crappie. Anywhere where there's a big swim platform, just shoot underneath there, or unless you know where some brush, just swim over that. Most of the crappie seem to be 15 foot of water, 15 to 20 foot seem the range of most of the crappie. So, and it didn't matter where at on the lake on that. The bass, like I said, today was a perfect example. One guy caught them fairly shallow on a stick bait. The other guy caught them 20 foot deep. So the bass are still kind of all over, but it's kind of a winter pattern. You're going to have them like that, except they're all going to start relating to channel swing banks. So that's what I'll tell you. Concentrate there and just play with shallow and work your bait out deep until you start getting some bites. That's all you can do in the wintertime. To find your fish or which ones are biting or which ones are the right size that you're looking for. So, that's really about it. I expect to get really a lot better or more consistent in the next couple weeks anyways. As that water temp drops, the fish start schooling up tighter and relating more to certain banks. It really shrinks the lake down. So if you want to come down and winter fish, this is the time. You come down. We've got the lake to ourselves. To fishermen, say from now for the next 2 months, it's going to be pretty much the same baits, the same banks, and kind of all the same. You just got to find the ones that are holding the fish and the feeding fish. So man, that's about all I got for you. So we'll start updating now weekly. We'll stay up on it throughout the winter. I'll try to key in on maybe different areas of lakes that's better. But this time of year, honestly, you can fish anywhere on the lake. Generally, your lower end's going to be a little clearer, maybe a little better for stick baits. But here the last couple of weeks, the entire lake has really taken on a clearer look, a little greener. We just don't really have a lot of stained water. So it's kind of what I'm getting at is the whole lake's open for whatever you want to do. You want to throw stick baits, jigs, Alabama rigs. You're going to be able to cover the whole lake. It's not going to all be like located on the lower end. So that's going to be good for fishing to really spread people out. So, like I said, we'll keep you updated what's going on. So until next week, we'll see you.